Hello! Today we'll be interviewing Geneve Bouwer. She is a past student and she has done IGCSE music, AS level music, as well as A level music. So I'm very excited just to have a little interview with her on this channel. So we're going to dive right in and get to know Geneve a little bit better. So Geneve was top in South Africa for AS level music in June of 2022, and she also came 8th place in the world for that year. So she has much insight to share with us. So let's dive right in. So first things first, Geneve, maybe you can tell us a bit about your earliest musical influences and what led you to pursue music early on in life.
So it was actually a really funny story. So in grade North I was new, and then I barely could speak English actually, so I was raised Afrikaans. And I remember Auntie Anita, our music teacher, standing in front of all the kiddies and being like, so can the following students please come with me to choir practice? And I didn't think she said my name, but all my friends went, so I just went along and somehow I ended up in the choir. And then through that, Auntie Anita was pushing for me to be in the Tygerberg Children's Choir. And then after that, I just fell in love with music and realized I actually can't do life without it anymore. So yeah.
And then you moved on to instrumental playing. So tell us which instruments you play.
So I've played piano since young, but I never progressed or anything. Only after I left the choir, then had a little bit of a musical hole to fill. So then I started playing piano a bit more seriously, and I also started playing the violin.
So moving on to academic music, what led you to pursue your IGCSEs, your AS level and A level in music?
I think at that point, music was never that deep. I didn't think I was going to study it or anything at that point. But I knew that I needed it in my life. And all I knew is that I just needed music in my timetable in a day, because it was my break. And it was just my time to because the music class is also small and I really loved my teachers and everything. So it was really just my time to debrief and be myself. And so that's how it started. And the more I got into it, the more I realized I loved it so much. I did IGs mainly in COVID. And then I really started expanding on my musical knowledge, doing extra research. That's where I practiced a lot. I practiced 4 hours a day or something. So in COVID it was really just me and my instruments. So I think then the love just grew and grew. Yeah.
And because music is 5 subjects in one,
yes.
How did you manage to balance music along with your other Cambridge subjects?
So I think it's just about having habits and daily routines. So I was really good about I'd come to school and I'd go home after my extramurals, and then I'd spend an hour with the piano and an hour with the violin, no matter what.
Wow.
And then because of that, I didn't have time to do my homework in the afternoon, so I'd have to wake up at 5 in the mornings to do homework and stuff. So it's I just had to figure out my daily schedule to fit it in, because that's the only way to balance everything, is just habits and routines, I think. Yeah.
I think that'll be very relatable for everyone out there who does music, because we always just have to do extra things.
Yeah.
And make sure that life just fits everything in, because music keeps us very, very busy.
Very busy, yeah.
So in terms of each of the stages, IGCSE, AS and A-level music, what were some of the specific topics that you found a little bit overwhelming, and how did you overcome them?
Okay. Wait, what did we call, was it dictation? We have to listen. And,
yes, basically.
Yeah. So that's what I remember about IGCSE.
Oral for days.
Oral and dictation, because oh my word, I could not do that for the life
That's
of
a
me.
lot, especially if you haven't done it before.
Yeah, and as a late music beginner as well, I think my ear wasn't as developed back then. That got me. And it's the way they have, I think it's section C if I remember correctly.
Yes.
That section always got me in IGCSE, and then they just keep playing the music and you're I'm still trying to figure out what this melody is.
Exactly,
and it just keeps going and it's just oh. So that was chaos. That was what's hard for IGs. For AS, I think it was all the essays and analysis. I think analysis at first is really difficult to wrap your head around, especially if you're that young, because I think the level of analysis that we did Mozart's Concerto number 21 for our AS level. And then so I think the level that we did that was higher than I ever did at university, so that was quite challenging. And then at A level, I must say the, I don't know what you call it, the essay, the 3,000 word essay thing.
Yeah, the investigating music component.
Guys, don't leave it to the last weekend. Do not do what I did. Otherwise, it's fine. And then I think the practical also was challenging for me, just purely because suddenly, like, the level had to pick up a lot, and I was like kind of a little bit of a late beginner. So yeah, that was really hard for me to get it up to standard. And then also struggling with like performance anxiety and stuff really badly at that stage. So yeah. So for IGCSE, I think I found the amount of history and stuff that we had to learn a little bit overwhelming, because it's stuff that I'd never like been exposed to before. But I think what helped me overcome it is knowing the value of that knowledge. So after that, being able to acknowledge, oh, this sounds like it's from the Baroque era and probably by Bach or whatever. Like, I feel like that's so helpful. In AS level, I think it was really overwhelming to like have to memorize all those pieces and like be able to analyze them like kind of on the spot. Yeah, and I think so at that time I had a teacher, Mr. Kassaman. He was amazing with that. So he like would color code our scores with us and like really like go through every single detail. So that was so helpful. And then for A level, I think definitely, yeah, the essay thing was quite overwhelming, and I did leave it to the last minute. So I think, yeah, but it, I just had to like power through, but I think that was good prep for university, so yeah.
And luckily you were also a strong academic candidate across all subjects, so
yeah,
your strength in writing and everything pulled through.
Yeah.
It was just how to reference properly, those types of nitty-gritty details. Yeah. But you ended up doing very well either way, but I also wouldn't recommend that to everybody. It's special people that can pull it off.
No.
So regarding world music in IGCSE, I don't know if you know this, but the syllabus is going to change as of 2026. So for this year, it will still stay the same. There are 7 world musics to study, 2 of which you will only get, and then there's a world music focus. But you come from that era of having to go through all the world musics and everything. That's about to come to an end, unfortunately.
That's so sad.
But from your experience of that, what can you say, sort of, how did you engage each of the musics, and how did you navigate those that you liked above those that you did not like, and you had to know them all equally? How was that experience for you?
That's a really good question. I definitely had favorites like Chinese music. Absolutely.
And that's the world focus for 2025.
That's so awesome. You're so lucky. We had Arab music as our focus, which is there's like quarter tones and stuff, and like it's difficult to listen to sometimes, but it's fine. Like, I think my tips for that would just be YouTube. So Mr. Kassaman also would make us a playlist of like a bunch of pieces under each category that we had to listen to, and then I just like try and, once again, habits every day, try and listen to a piece of each of the categories, just so that your ear gets used to how it sounds. And then obviously, because I love Chinese music, that became like my new study music. It's like the Chinese Zen music for like 3 years after that. So yeah, definitely.
I like that, what you say about listening. I mean, it is a listening exam wholly at IGCSE level, and you can't do it without listening. It's not like you can study what this music means. You actually need to listen to it and engage with it, which there's no way around that, unfortunately. Sometimes you can be a strong candidate academically and you can just memorize things very quickly, but there's no way around listening. You can't listen quickly and take it in. So you actually need to engage with it. No way around it.
For sure.
And then I think what people also struggle with, candidates and perhaps even teachers teaching this, if they're not really from that background, is composition. And there are composing tasks and components for IGCSE as well as AS that are compulsory. Of course, when you get to A level, you can choose. You don't have to be a composer, and you don't have to be a performer. You can choose. But at the levels that a lot of people will do, IGCSE and AS, you have to compose. And Cambridge doesn't have a theoretical component, so that's crazy. You have to sort of do music theory on the side. Extra things, that's always for music people. But how did you find going into composing? What did you find was your go-to? Did you have to sit with it every day? Did you wait for inspiration? What kind of level of theory did you think you needed for that going into it?
So I was very lucky that Mr. Kassaman did his master's in composition.
You were lucky.
So that was actually my favorite component, just purely because he was really inspirational. And like, so what helped is he would come back after a weekend and show us what he composed over that weekend.
Wow.
So it's like stuff like that. So like actually having the active inspiration, and he did give us regular theory classes as well, which is obviously on the side, but that helps a lot. So I think like what he tried to let us do is like just be okay with it being a messy process.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not a first I do this and then I do this type of thing. It's more about like maybe one day you read a poem and you're like, oh my word, I want to use this poem, and then the chords come and then the melody comes, or then the melody comes and then the chords come, or whatever, and you're going to change it and it's going to end up sounding very different than when you started, and that's so okay. So I think that was really helpful, is just being okay with it being messy. What I found was such a helpful tip. I know like we use like Muse School to compose and stuff, and it's awesome, but the best thing I found is actually sitting with a piece of paper in front of the piano, because I'm a pianist, with your instrument, and just playing around, and then as you play around and like something, to write it down, and then putting it on to Muse Score and making it a composition. So I found that was the most helpful thing, because then you actually finish your thoughts and your ideas, and you're able to like piece them together then.
So you're not distracted by technology.
No.
Because as good as technology can be, sometimes it is distracting, and I have heard from older composers as well that they just love the pencil on paper thing, and though some people just deem it as old school, it is very reliable. There's a time and a place where you can maybe initially put your thoughts that come from crazy places directly onto Muse Score, but that's an exception, it shouldn't be the rule. And I think with the newer generations coming up today, that has become a thing, just because we like instant everything. And I like that you speak about the process, because it is messy. And a lot of us, with our instruments, we can understand that process. We understand you're not just going to pick up your instrument today and be able to play it tomorrow. There's no overnight thing. You can't not practice for 2 months and then expect, oh, I have an exam tomorrow that I'm going to play well.
Yes.
And we understand that so well when it comes to practical, but then we get it wrong when it comes to the academics, we get it wrong when it comes to composing. So I think we already have that advantage as musicians. We have that skill already. We just have to tap into it for the other components as well.
For sure.
Just can't be lazy.
Yeah.
As plain and simple as that.
I'd be okay with it not sounding nice. Like the very end.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, it's, I mean, it's the same with the instruments. Like,
exactly.
Be okay with it not sounding nice. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So of course, for all 3 of these exams, the format structure for the papers as well as for the coursework differs slightly. So maybe we started IGCSE, that was way back when. Okay. But what did you think about that exam format? The 4 sections, having things played to you 4 times for the most part. Of course, in section D for your set works, they only play it to you twice. What did you think about that? It's a measured time to paper.
Sure.
What were your thoughts?
I think I was relieved at that stage, because I really struggled with finishing my exams in time. So I knew that whatever happened, I was going to finish my music exam in time. So I think that was helpful, but it is stressful when you get to a section and like your listening times are over and you're like, oh, I don't know if I got all the information that I needed. But overall, I think, I mean, music exams are so hard to navigate. So I think Cambridge did a good job. I think in terms of the actual writing of the exam, I think the flow of it was quite nice most of the time,
And I think you mentioned that in your time of IGCSE, you got asked something about musicals, and at that stage, you hadn't gone through musicals and you were just taken aback, and you couldn't answer on genres that you knew things on. How did you feel after that?
I don't know, because at that stage, I don't know if they gave us like a syllabus or something to work through. I don't. Mr. Kassaman was doing what his thing, and we were just chilling. So, we thought, okay, we have the classical eras, and then we have world music, and this is the world music categories, and this is the classical music. Cool, we have all of them, and then somehow when it gets to the exam, there's a whole different genre, which was such a shock. And I don't know if it was in the syllabus. I mean, I could have probably checked the syllabus, but like we were never taught that. I don't know if Cambridge just didn't communicate properly.
Sometimes there are things missing from the syllabus.
That could be,
Really,
Mr.
truly.
Cusman did a really good job, so I really highly doubt that he missed a whole section of work.
And then all of a sudden you see things popping up. Okay, musicals. Okay, jazz in there, and then it's like, whoa.
No, so I think that was, I must say, I think that was on Cambridge, and it was a little bit of a shock. I don't know if they were trying to like get us, or like, I don't know if that was the intention, that we didn't know the genre, or I don't know. But it was luckily a song. It was like Singing in the Rain or something.
Okay,
Like,
at least it's, if you've been cultured and you've been in this life for 16 years, then hopefully you would know at least how to answer it. But still, it is.
Yeah, it was like the first
quite
question, and I was like, oh, okay.
And then you know so much about something else and you can't answer it. So that's a bit frustrating, exactly. But it's just something you get through, because then at AS level, it's more structured in terms of you are more open to answer according to the knowledge that you now have. So what did you think about the AS paper with your unheard Baroque and then your big set works? You had quite a few set works to study.
Yeah, I loved the AS syllabus, like loved it. Like that, where we compared the different performances. Literally, we had the same assignment at the end of first year of music. So that was so nice, because I was like, yes, I know how to do this. And I found it so fascinating, because that's like really what I was interested in, is like the difference, like, because I mean, Valentina's my violin teacher, and she's really big on like performance practice and Baroque performance. So when we got to that section of it, then I was like, oh my word, this is so cool, because she's been speaking about this for years, and now being able to put the pieces together and actually like apply the knowledge was so nice. Also, I think you can choose a question to answer.
Yes.
Which is so nice as well, because now it's like, okay, you choose to answer the question that's, you're comfortable with answering. And I think in our paper they asked really nice questions, so I just had a lot of fun writing it. Yeah.
So sections B and C, those are your option ones, your large essays, so to speak, and you're also very good at writing, so that really helps as well.
Helps a lot.
Not always about what you write, but how you write. Of course, you need to know your content, but you did really well in that, all the prep papers, I remember, and you really enjoyed it.
I did.
You always looked like you had a smile on your face when writing those exams.
It was more fun than playing piano. I'm not gonna lie.
Sometimes
yeah. No, that's good.
And then at A level, there is no specific exam that you need to write. Everything is just coursework based, and you need to manage your time appropriately and then have everything couriered off to Cambridge. But I do remember you were planning on doing AS and A level at the same time.
Yes.
It worked out that we actually separated it by 6 months, so you completed AS in June 2022, and then A level we submitted for the October-November session. Looking back, do you think that you would have been able to manage the two together, or do you advise people trying to do this at the same time to at least separate it by a session?
I think separating it is good, especially because I think for practical you can't play the same pieces.
Oh yes, you need a whole different repertoire.
And I was auditioning for university as well, so that would have been a complete disaster if I had to have like 3 different reps.
Yeah, crazy.
So yeah, I'm glad that I did end up separating it. Also, I feel like the AS level work, like there's only so much of it that you can go through, and then there reaches a point, and I think we just reached a point where we were like, oh okay, we're ready, so let's just write the exam early, which was so nice. And then it was so nice to also just have time to let Matric do all its crazy things, for me to also audition for university, and then also do A level on the side. Because A level really you can just do in your own time pretty much, like except for practicing your rep. It's just about like doing your own research about the essay, if you choose to do the essay, doing your own research and like just like doing a little bit on the side. I would recommend like doing a little bit every day. That's not what I did, but that would have been more ideal.
Even like every second day or something,
or like
working on
twice
something.
a week, or I don't know, just having
Exactly, just to have a continuity, and then to take a break, because all of a sudden after you come back from a break, even if it's a 2-week break or whatever, something clicks, and then you all of a sudden work faster, you know things. Same thing with the instrument. If you do take a sectioned break of practicing, when you come back and after intentional break, everything is set. So again, we have that skill set, we just need to apply it to our academics as well.
100%,
And then something that I've never struggled with is academic anxiety, like exam writing and that kind of stress. I don't know if it's something that you've experienced.
Not really. I think once you've experienced the stress of playing an instrument in front of a panel of judges, nothing is stressful anymore.
No, exactly.
So yeah, no.
So I feel like if I ever get that kind of question, I'm not really able to answer how to manage your stress or your anxiety when it comes to written exams, because I didn't have that. I liked writing written exams.
Yeah, so.
But I think you can maybe relate on performance anxiety and playing for your recordings. Of course, at all the stages of Cambridge, you need to have recordings sent over. With IGCSE, it's just audio, but then with your practical for AS and of course A level, everything needs to be video. And sometimes videos can be a little bit more scary than actually just playing once live in front of an examiner. And so you've been now through 3 of these vigorous recordings. Any advice in terms of stress and anxiety management regarding those?
Shoot. I don't know if I figured out my whole performance anxiety thing yet, to be honest. Like, I must say though, like, I think I still find playing live exams way more stressful, but that's because I haven't done them very often. Like, my musical journey really only took off in COVID, and then after that it was just online recordings for most of the exams that I'd done. And then when I got to first year last year, then all of a sudden I had my physical exams, and those stressed me out like you would never believe.
Now university exams are very stressful.
No, it's so bad. But anyway, so yeah, I found the recordings actually a lot less stressful, and also because my piano teacher, Jess, was amazing. So like, she would always be there, and I would always like calm me down or whatever, because I could just look over at her and she could just give me a smile or whatever. But yeah, what I would also say, the tricky thing about recordings is you're going to have to make peace with the fact that there's not going to be one perfect recording, and you reach a point where you're just like, okay, it's fine. Like, we have to submit it.
Choose
now.
one.
Yeah, otherwise you can literally spend 3 whole days recording. And what Jess would always tell me, my piano teacher, she'd always tell me, like, those perfect recordings that you hear on like Apple Music have been highly edited. They've taken 3 days to record them. Don't compare yourself to that. You're not going to reach
multiple
that
recordings,
level.
snippets of each section, not even movements, but literally phrases and bars have been cut and pasted from different recordings. So it's not one single straight recording as if it were performed live. You get those, but CD recordings, sorry to burst the bubbles, but it's not, those are not your once through performances. So I think that's good advice, because we can't even think about comparing ourselves to that. That's very impossible. I mean, even those musicians performing on recordings are not performing those on recordings that way. So I think we do need to give ourselves a little bit of a break.
For sure.
So thank you, I like that.
And also like limiting yourself to like 2 or 3 recordings max.
Oh yes.
Because it reaches a point where it's just wasting your time now. So
you do need a limit, because the more and more you play, then the more and more stressed you get.
Well,
Yes, it does tend to get worse. It's almost like the first one is actually going to be your best one. Who would have thought? So of course, as you may have picked up throughout the conversation, Genevieve did go on to first year music. She has since changed gears. So she moved out of music. She's doing something else now. But all your music education, all the years of informal training, then formal training, and even going on to study it for a year at university, how has music shaped your future goals, even outside of music?
Sure. I think what I learned is to just like, maybe it's good to have goals for sure, but I think once you reach the level outside of school, it's also good to be very open-minded, that anything can happen, and that you also don't know as much about yourself than you think you do. So I think music has taught me to not limit myself and push myself into a certain box. Just because I've happened to have picked up the piano at a certain age doesn't mean I need to be doing that for the rest of my life. And it's also never too late to change, to start anything. I mean, it goes both ways, if whether you want to change out of, like, you're studying music and out of music, or whether you want to go into starting music. Like, you're never too old, and like, anything can happen. Like, just be open-minded and just go with the flow. I think
I think that's beautiful, because it is all about the journey, and we're still on journeys now. So I happen to study music and continued with it, and you happen to be now in a different field, but we're all on journeys, and music will never leave us. I mean, the skill that you pick up from instruments, it's very good, and it has a vast impact on your life. and you will never stop playing. I know that you still sing in choirs and everything.
I do, and I think like that. I still need music in my life.
Exactly.
Like I still can't live without it, and it looks different now than it did at a stage. And I think like I've now joined a choir, and it's been the most healing thing for me, because I think when you go from music being your career and everyone like just breaking you down just to get the result versus just everyone in a group coming together and just actually wanting to have fun and make good music together, so healing. And it really like choir's given me another like reason to wake up in the morning, and it's really just so fulfilling.
And then lastly, for those candidates doing IGCSE, AS level and A level music in 2025, what advice can you give to them?
Sure. I mean, obviously practice your instrument every day. There's just no way there's just no way to get around that. And then also like doing theory on the side. I know Cambridge doesn't prepare you, but you need theory. Like you cannot get around that at all. And then I don't know. For composition, I'd say like just open your mind out to like being inspired and like hearing things from your like you can literally be inspired by the birds chirping outside. Like it's really just opening your mind and just like allowing creativity to flow. And then also just like don't lose sight of why you're doing music. I think that's really easy to do once stuff gets more serious, but like always make sure you're taking care of your love for music, and however that looks like. Maybe it means like, I don't know, once a week you sit in front of your instrument and you just play like pop songs or whatever floats your boat. But just like make sure you keep the love going so that it stays worth it, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today. I've gleaned a lot from you. Thank you for the wisdom. And I think it's also very nice to have candidates relate to someone who's just been through it all and come out top on the other side. So that's lovely to hear. And I think academically, as always, they just need to follow what happens in class, follow that syllabus, listen to your teacher, and like she said, watch YouTube videos.
Yes.
There's somewhat of a gap in resources, but it is slowly being filled. So whatever you can find out there, dive into it, share your own experiences in the community, and keep on making music and keep on enjoying your love for music.